Steps away from the Colosseum, you see two of Rome's famous triumph arches. The Arch of Titus, his triumph over the Jews in Judea the year 70, and the carvings tell that story. He looted the temple, he took the treasure. But the bigger one, over 70 feet tall, it's like 6 stories of marble and 3 archways, the Arch of Constantine. And as you approach it, you look at the carvings, what story is it telling? Your tour guide might point out, hey, some of these carvings don't match. Some of them are from hundreds of years earlier. He's statue streamlining, he's recycling, like from Hadrian. Look at the lion hunting and the sacrifice to Hercules. Those are Hadrian's. There's also the new ones, Constantine distributing money to the people. That's something Constantine commissioned. But is this statue streamlining a symptom of anything like Rome decline, fewer skilled craftsmen, or running low on cash? Well, this lesson guides you through a very tricky time. Could replace the original Roman religion that's over 1,000 years old. The age of burning Christians and persecuting them is ending. But discern how a solid, wise ruler is going to deal with this difficult turning point place in Roman history. I want to introduce you to that man who conquered under the Christian sign, and then he forged a new path literally to the east that covers religion, money, and politics. His name is Constantine the Great. I'm Mr. Hull, and this is Ancient History. Welcome to Classical Kingdoms, where history reveals truth and wisdom for your journey. This lesson enters into the kingdom of Constantine and the Christian turn of Rome. I want to hand you something that matters. It's about Constantine, so that we can learn what Constantine did as he's accepting Christianity, and how did Christianity grow with his help and with the help of the people close to him, like his mother Helena. And his strong authority. How did he use that when Constantine was establishing church leadership and helping interpret the Bible? Let's begin. Let's start in the year AD 303. For one stretch of about 8 years, the Roman state tried to erase a religion. It's called the Great Persecution, and it ran from 303 to AD 311. The orders were simple and total. Tear down the churches, burn their scriptures, strip Christians of every legal right, and then command every single soul in the entire Roman Empire to sacrifice to the old gods or die. And we learn what happens if we zoom in on the region called Phrygia. Soldiers surrounded a whole town full of Christians, burned the whole place to the ground. Historians count somewhere between 3,000, 3,500 people were executed under those laws right there. It's just one example. And if you think this sounds like the most harsh persecution, it was, called the Great Persecution. This is as extreme as it got since Christianity was made illegal by Nero in the year AD 64. So pause on Phrygia. How did Christians survive 8 years of this? How did they survive 250 years of this? Picture you're coming up to someone, you draw a curved line, kind of scratch it into the dirt of a Roman pathway. One arc. It's half of a fish symbol. By itself, it's nothing, like a curved doodle. But the Christians had a word for that fish. If you finish it, it's the ichthus. That's a Greek word for fish, ichthus. Each letter was an acrostic. It stands for Jesus Christ, Son of God, Savior. And that was a Christian sign. You've seen it sometimes on cars, in symbols and jewelry. But there are other signs too. An anchor. an anchor carved into a gravestone, because the crossbar of the cross is already kind of in the anchor, and a sailor's anchor drew less suspicion. There's also this monogram. There's two Greek letters laid over top of each other, the Chi and the Rho, the Chi-Rho, the first two Greek letters in the word Christ. And so put yourself as a sneaking around Christian. You're standing on the road, and it's the year 305, AD 305. The sacrifice law is enforced. You are in danger. And the stranger walks up to you without a word, just draws one curved arc on the road at your feet. If that's a brother, if that's a believer, you finish the fish, and you found family in very challenging times. You know, courage isn't really the absence of fear. It's acting well in the teeth of what you rightly fear. These people weren't fearless. They knew exactly what the fire, what the persecution would actually cost them. And they would choose the truth anyway, quietly, carefully. There's one arc at a time. If you put yourself in that year 305, AD 305, you would never think that in just 10 years, you're going to see a Roman emperor actually use one of those Christian symbols himself and flying over the Roman army, leading in a new direction for Romans. The thing that they were sneaking around about, the empire, would soon shout, put it as their standard. In AD 311, an interesting plot twist, because the first crack in this persecution didn't come from a courageous Christian hero. It came from one of the architects. His name was Galerius. In AD 311, Galerius was dying of some horrible illness. He signed an edict of toleration. It was not for mercy. If you read the wording, you can almost hear him grinding his teeth. He calls these Christians stubborn and foolish, and he admits the killing simply hasn't worked. So, fine. We'll stop. You can exist. We'll let you live, but you have to pray for me. Galerius asks for Christian prayers. Pray for his health. Pray for the emperor's health. Pray for healing. And that's a man who knows what the torment would be like, being in charge of so many deaths and the heart of a guy like Galerius. And a year later, in AD 312, a general named Constantine marches out of Gaul over the Alps towards Rome, and waiting for him was a rival to the throne. Maxentius already holds the city of Rome. Does this make you feel like this is Julius Caesar coming and Pompey is holding Rome? It's very different at this point. Times have been tough. If you're coming here from the previous lesson, you know the Roman Empire is in decline. But these guys are going to fight to save it. They collide at the bridge. The bridge over the Tiber River, it's called the Milvian Bridge. And it's October 28th, 312. Constantine defeats Maxentius there. He sees Maxentius actually drown in the river under this kind of booby trap story. And as they're fishing out his body, they parade his head through Rome. But people don't talk so much about the booby-trapped bridge, the Milvian Bridge. What they remember is that Constantine had a vision before this battle. And here's the vision. Different accounts, but it's about seeing a sign. And under this sign, Constantine could conquer. He had a dream. And in this dream, the voice tells him to mark this sign. It's a sign of God, and put it on your soldiers' shields. And under this sign, you will conquer. So picture this spectacle. The Romans fought under their standards, under the eagles. But now in broad daylight, there's Constantine leading an army that by a different sign you're going to conquer. This dream causes the conversion, the acceptance of Constantine's Christian faith. What kind of sign are we talking about here, and how does it show up? Sometimes in art. Sometimes in art, you'll see this glowing cross in the sky. The cross as a symbol really comes way later. We're going to use one of the ones I mentioned earlier. It's the Chi-Rho. That is going to put people at ease. It's going to be a secret symbol to a Christian soldier, which there would have been Christians in this army already. These great persecutions didn't happen everywhere all the time. We know that because, for instance, Constantine's mother was a devout Christian already at this point. So a Christian soldier who's told, hey, put the Chi-Rho on your shield, might have caused some excitement, some hope. But to other pagan, they might feel a little bit of comfort because at least they knew Greek scribes used to use it as kind of a good mark. So paint it on your shields. Those are the orders Constantine gives. And when it goes onto the shields, Christians now see it as their savior helping. The pagans could feel like it's good fortune, something good is happening. They're being led by Constantine. And they won. Constantine defeated Maxentius at the Battle of the Milvian Bridge and proceeds to power. The next year, AD 313, in the city of Milan, Constantine goes to meet Licinius. That's a man who rules in the east. He happens to have a wedding. They get together and hammer out a new rule. A lot of new rules, actually. This is called the Edict of Milan. It's a set of official letters that's sent out after this meeting, and the content is really changing everything. It goes far beyond toleration. For almost 250 years, the legal line had been 3 Latin words. The law was non licet esse Christianos. That's Latin for it is not permitted to be a Christian. That line is out. It's dead. Christianity becomes religio licita, a legal protected faith for the first time. And these letters go far beyond just that. Now, every church, every building that's been under persecution, like acres land seized during the 10 great persecutions, give it all back. No payment, no delay, no argument, in one stroke. In the Edict of Milan, this series of letters is showing that the state will not rob Christian churches anymore. It will become a friend. It'll actually begin a partnership and become one of the biggest patrons to help establish Christianity. But patronage, it's expensive. The empire is broke. It wants to help, but the decades of bad coinage, the silver wash swindle, that they just put thin coat of silver on their coins. They've been debasing their currency. Inflation's been a huge problem. Well, the silver wash swindle needs to stop. It's one of the reasons for Rome's fall, as we're going to continue to see in this series of lessons. But Constantine is strong, and he wants to fix that. So how about a new coin? The Solidus. The Solidus, it's pure gold. It's tiny. It's only about 4.5 grams of gold. It's just like a nickel. Go touch a nickel. But here's what makes it solid. Yes, it's where we get the word solid. The Solidus is struck to the exact same weight every time. Does this sound familiar? We can trust it. It's reliable. And it's going to really help save the economy right now in this transitional time. The Solidus held this amount of gold. It was solid for 700 years. That's a spoiler alert, but the Romans should not be devaluing, debasing their currency. But where is the gold coming from? The gold has to come from somewhere, and Constantine sent his officials into pagan temples. Pull those god statues off their pedestals. It's on its way out. Christianity is exploding. It's an accepted religion, so you could strip the silver and the gold off of the statues. That means taking the gold leaf off. It means melting down some of these statues, make bullion, make them into coins at the mint. Does that feel big to you? The old gods. I mean, this is lesson 66. We've spent the entire series of lessons with, worshiping Zeus and Jupiter and Artemis of the Ephesians. But now, old gods aren't just losing their worshipers. They're being melted down to pay for the empire to become strong again. And the old gods are getting replaced. We see a new direction. Besides coins, another interesting direction is being led by Constantine's mother, Helena. As an old woman, Helena traveled to the Holy Land with some amount of spending power. The imperial treasury was ready to support a problem she wanted to solve. What is that? The places at the center of Christian faith had been deliberately buried, forgotten. In the case of Hadrian, he rebuilt a pagan town over top of Jerusalem. Rome had crushed Jerusalem in the year 70, the leadership of Titus, and Hadrian kind of did it again. And he noticed that people were worshiping Jesus, the Christ. And so Hadrian put a pagan temple, the temple to the goddess Venus, that's the Aelia Capitolina, was built right on top of the site of the tomb that is believed Jesus was laid, close to the place he was crucified. Helena arrives, and the answer, tear that down. Eusebius is a scholar, a writer, a bishop, a church leader who watched this happen. The crews didn't just knock down the walls. Constantine had ordered to clear the site, haul this pagan stone and timber, even the soil underneath it, get rid of it. Every bit of it should be considered defiled. They dug down and they uncovered the old limestone burial cave. Over top, that is the site that's finished in 335. That's the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Go down to Bethlehem. What did Helena try to do there? It's the Church of the Nativity. Nativity. That is where Jesus was born. These sites were revered. They were venerated, respected by early Christians. Even through this time, they would travel. And so when Helena arrives, she tries to talk to the locals. Why have people visited this site? Why are these the places that were trusted? And you see like this Bordeaux pilgrim that's walking from Gaul to Jerusalem. It was happening in AD 333, old pagan roads to reach now the brand new sites in the Holy Land, people making religious pilgrimages. Do you think this happened quickly? It's just been a few decades. Put your opinion in the chat. How can 1,000 years of religion be completely flipped? It's such a turning point in Rome's history. You know that the fall is going to come, and now it's Constantine's turn to do something really bold. He's going to walk away from Rome. Rome was old, it was pagan, stubborn, and it's actually dangerous. It's far from the borders that really matter now, as we have barbarian threats, the frontier friction, barbarians attacking. Rome is an open target. In AD 324, Constantine refounded kind of an overlooked Greek city called Byzantion, or the Latin word Byzantium. And by 330, AD 330, he dedicated this as his new capital. So you'll learn about this blind spot story, blind spot Byzantium, in lesson 67. We'll go into more detail about how it becomes more glorious than Rome, and you're going to know it as Constantinople. But here's something that shows Constantine's character and leadership. He's going to decorate his new Christian city with something from the old pagan world. This is another one of my very favorites. You know the importance of Delphi because it's the center of understanding, even older than Rome. This goes before the Trojan War. In the center of understanding, we put some of the valuable lessons, classical lessons learned. You put your trophies in Delphi. Constantine went to Delphi, and he saw a trophy that was really quite remarkable. So what if instead of a gold ring for golf, we instead take a bunch of golf clubs and coil them together? Where'd we get the golf clubs? This is like a trophy, except that we got the golf clubs from our rivals that we defeated in the championship process. Check out the bronze serpent column. This coil of snakes was a trophy that was made when the Greeks defeated the Persians in 479 BC. What did they make it out of? The melted down weapons of their enemies. The Persian bronze went into this. The bronze serpent column was placed in Delphi prominently in front of the temple to Apollo, and these three bronze snakes twisting up and around each other. This is more than 26 feet tall. You had the names of all the city-states that helped contribute to the victory. It really meant something, and since it's in Delphi, it helps you understand everything. What struggles do? What do they mean? How did they come to this accomplishment? Well, I digress. Maybe you can see what a trophy is supposed to mean. Constantine understood that, and he took the serpent column and he moved it. It's been there for 800 years in Delphi. Well, Delphi is an oracle site to the gods of Mount Olympus, and it's Apollo is the god in charge of Delphi, but we're not doing that anymore. So Constantine is taking away this trophy. He's impressed by it. And the way these Greek cities had defeated their huge enemy, the Persians, this deserves a new home. And Constantine puts it in a prominent spot in Constantinople. That's Byzantium. His new city, he's going to turn it into a water fountain and place it in the middle of a racetrack, the Hippodrome. But it's representing something special to Constantine. It's centuries of glory. And now it's decorating his new city, along with many other things too. The whole pivot. Constantine is charting a new direction. Maybe Rome won't fall. Maybe his leadership is going to make a dawn of a new age, because when that serpent column was made, it was the beginning of Athens' golden age and the classical age. And so Constantine, what do you think? Does he have a chance? Well, let's continue with Constantine, because he has something else that's not about bronze trophies or winning. Constantine had let something loose that can't be melted down or taken away or conquered in any way. He has legalized Christianity. And now there's a church that doesn't have to hide anymore. And he's funding it. He is bringing church leaders together, and he's making it a strong authority. So let's enter into one of the famous theology debates that Constantine helped with. This newly legalized religion has Bible scholars, that they don't have to sneak around with half-fish symbols. So here's one specific challenge, a theological question about the nature of Jesus Christ. We have a way to describe it. For centuries and centuries, the Greeks and the Romans have used the word logos. So bring in centuries of understanding that logos, like where we get the word logic, is like a plan. And the Stoic philosophers, they talked about logos as being the indwelling of God, the divine. It's a plan that's divine. Now, in the Bible, John famously calls Jesus the Logos. In John 1:1, he opens his letter, says, in the beginning was the Logos, and the Logos was with God, and the Logos was God. And that's John's take on it. Now, you'll have, if you were in this time period, you would know the cultural understanding of Logos. It meant something. It's a plan. It's the logic. It's the creation with purpose and order. And that Greek and Roman culture in Stoic philosophy is a really good example. If you do a deep dive, or if you're coming here from lesson 64, you knew Marcus Aurelius was a Stoic, and maybe he debated what logos really meant. So it's a common idea. The perspective was in clash, but not everyone agreed. There's a priest named Arius. He had a different perspective. This early church leader, Arius, said that the Son of God, Jesus, was created within the Logos, like after, similar to the Father giving birth to a son, but it really makes the Son an after effect, an afterthought, lesser. So this Arius teaches that the Father is more important than the Son, and that would resonate with people from this Greek and Roman, their wisdom and philosophy. Remember, we're coming off of an age, pagan religions were worshiping Jupiter, were worshiping Artemis of the Ephesians. This different perspective getting debated. We have a church bishop named Athanasius. Athanasius says, like what John was saying, that the Son is equal, that the substance of the Father, the Son, it's a harder concept to understand. How could you be Father and Son, all of it God? How could Logos be God, while Logos is also the Son, and Logos was in the beginning? And, it's very abstract. It's difficult to grasp. And these are church leaders, experts trying to hammer it all out. So did people need to be able to explain this and understand God? They needed divinity to come to their terms and to make sense to humans, or could the perspective be that the divine is higher and it's not to be explained? John did as good of a job as anyone can do to say that the Logos was God, was with God, was God. Deep theology. And that's just one. After 250 years of sneaking around in the great persecutions, past philosophies like Stoicism, it's just context. And Jupiter and Artemis, worshiping them are context. And we don't have to be secretive anymore. So Constantine, being a strong leader, he's having some success. He says, let's get together. And in the year AD 325, he's been fighting civil wars for this empire. He's been in power for 13 years. But he has other job responsibilities. He is the high priest of the Roman Jupiter temple. His technical title, he has many, is Pontifex Maximus of Rome. What does that mean? He is that's Latin for maximum bridge builder between the human world and the divine. And that means Olympus. It means Jupiter. That's still his title. It's an old pagan title. But Constantine calls all the Christian leaders together, the bishops, and they meet in Nicaea, in the town of Nicaea in the year 325. He pays for them. He hosts them. This is the first Council of Nicaea. And he gives himself a new title, Episcopos ton ektos. That means the bishop of external affairs, right? That's his Roman context. He's got authority. He's straddling between the old pagan, which is dying out, and the new Christian faith. And so he's now a bishop, the bishop of external affairs, and not the bishop of souls, because that's for the pastors. That's for the church leaders who've got more understanding of the scripture. But he's handling the order, the external affairs, bringing people together, and let's debate the topic. Is the Son equal to the Father? Is the Logos with God? The Logos was God. The Church Council agreed. Not with Arius. They agree with the Apostle John. They make a creed. Maybe Christians recognize the Nicene Creed as a unifying faith statement that clears this up and says, we've hammered this out. And people that don't believe this are the Arian Christians. Well, they're heretics. What's a heresy? What is a heretic or heresy? A heresy is a teaching that goes against the church, against the Bible, and this Council of Nicaea has stated clearly the way John explains it, not the way Arius explains it, that the Son is lesser than the Father. So it's an official heresy. Arian heresy is officially out. If you're an Arian Christian, you are an outsider, you are a heretic. And famously, there will be a barbarian sacker of Rome. You'll see in an upcoming lesson, he was an Arian Christian. That is Alaric. Now, Alaric is a long way away. North Africa, as he's moving through to sack Rome in the year 410. Maybe he just didn't get the memo yet. It takes a long time. There's a process as people sort out the theology. And nowadays, the Arian heresy, as it's called, you would struggle to find people that believe that. But it's out there. And now you have a basic understanding of this theology, and that definitely makes you a classical scholar because you know how to think through all of this and using different texts in the Bible and in the influences of the popular culture. All that mixes together as you see the First Council of Nicaea in the year AD 325. It's a process that gave church authority with the help of Constantine, the debate of the Bible, and then unity came at the end. Now skip ahead 2 generations. In AD 380, AD 380, the Emperor Theodosius kind of finished the leadership that Constantine started with the Edict of Thessalonica, Thessaloniki. His edict made the Nicene Christianity the one legal religion of Rome. So it took that many decades to really flush out Arian heresy, but also that this version of Christianity is the legal religion. The faith of Rome had once burned out cities like Phrygia and beheaded Christians like Paul and crucified Christians like Peter upside down. But now, Christianity is the only faith that Rome would permit. You could see that he's giving the empire some peace and he's ending centuries of persecution for Christians. He gave that hunted faith a home with authority, and Constantine brought stability, unity, kind of halted the century of Roman decline. Kind of halted it. Is Rome not going to fall? Could Constantine possibly save this whole thing? Do you know what's coming in the next 4 lessons? But the Roman Empire is still in decline. It's going to take a long time. The symbolic evidence that main points in this lesson are coming from something older, like Constantine's arch, taking things from Hadrian. The coin is melting down old gods. The trophy fountain is taking 800 years ago a trophy for victory. And even the new legal Christian faith was already centuries old after the killings of Paul and Peter. And now you can discern what makes the kingdom classical, what truly matters, what's going to last. And this is how scholars are made. It's one kingdom at a time, learning how to think and what to do with what you know. I encourage you to classicalkingdoms.com for the full course to have the complete perspective. It's waiting for you. Thank you for taking the time to learn something that matters in all of history. And that includes your journey, because kingdoms rise and fall, power fades, but virtue endures.